What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC 273. We have Alexander Volkanovski going against the Korean Zombie.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another betting breakdown video this week, breaking down an absolute banger of a card. I cannot wait for this card. We have three phenomenal fights up top. Volkanovski, Korean Zombie in the main event. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, the co-main event. And then, of course, Khamzat Chimaev, Gilbert Burns, and then throughout the card, we have some great fights sprinkled throughout. Not a huge card for me from a betting perspective. I did smash one spot that I really do like. We'll talk about that. But yeah, kind of a tricky card, especially in terms of like picking winners, betting sides. We have a bunch of big favorites up top at the end of the card, but we have a lot of really close fights as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think overall, it should be a very fun night. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Trying to reach that 15K goal, hopefully in the very near future. If you do want access to all my other content, be sure to sign up on dfsbythenumbers.com. Lots of stuff going on over there, so be sure to check that out. And other than that, going live 1 hour prior to the prelims for Best Bet with me, Uncle Weezy, Narco Cop, and Eric Betts Fights. That's going to be on fight day, 1 hour prior to the prelims. And then you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the Numbers, all that good stuff. I'll be posting my final picks there. So I say we get right into it, and we'll start with the very first fight of the night. We did lose a fight. We lost the Rosenstruck versus Tybura fight. Tybura did pull out due to some illness there. But we have the first fight of the night. We have Julio Arce going against Daniel Santos. Julio Arce is sitting at -175, and Daniel Santos is sitting at +150. And yeah, I mean, this is a fight that I want to stay away from for the most part. There's just a lot of unknowns in the Daniel Santos side. We have not seen him fight in 2 years and 4 months. The last time he did fight, he was around 25 years old. So the guy's very young. He's training at a good gym as well. And I like what I see from the guy. But, this is going to be a big step up in competition. Going against a guy in Arce who's fought some very good guys, who's beaten some very good guys. Arce is a very good fighter, good striking, great striking defense at 67%. So I think it's a very tough ask for Santos to come in here to make his debut against a guy like Arce. But again, I really like what I see from Santos. And if he has made improvements over the last couple of years, if he has leveled up, I mean, this could be a very competitive fight. So I'm going to pick Arce to win the fight. I do not want to touch the -175. Just like I said, too many unknowns for me. I think the fight doesn't go to decision at +130 is at least intriguing. Arce is a finisher. He has finished 4 of his 5 UFC wins. And then on top of that, Daniel Santos is absolutely a finisher. He has a 75% finish rate or 70% finish rate, and he does show a lot of power. So if anything, it'd be that plus money shot and the fight doesn't go to decision, but I will not be touching the first fight of the night. But it should be a very fun fight. I'm looking forward to the debut of Daniel Santos. We have Pierre Rodriguez going against Kay Hanson, another fight that I really don't want anything to do with. Kay Hanson did miss weight, I believe, by 2.5 pounds, which is very interesting considering she's, a pretty small fighter. I kind of question where her head's at, where her mentality's at in terms of, fighting. She has a lot of things going on outside of fighting as well. And, how serious is she taking this camp? I mean, coming in here missing weight and it's just not a great look to me. So I was picking Pierre Rodriguez regardless. I'm going to stick with that pick, but I'm not going to bet it. Rodriguez, I like her striking. I like her power. Her takedown defense looks really good as well. When she does get taken down, she does a great job of getting back up. I think she's probably the more hungrier fighter as well. So I'm going to take Rodriguez. The line kind of flipped here. Rodriguez at one point last week was like +130, something like that. Now it's she's -130. So the line completely flipped, and I agree with it. I think it's going to be a close competitive fight, but I slightly edge Rodriguez, but there is no chance I am betting this fight. Not even any props really stick out. I think actually the fight goes to decisions, not the worst look in the world. I saw on FanDuel Sportsbook it had -172, but this is just a fight where I don't want to really invest any money on. So the pick's Rodriguez, but I'm not betting it. Next fight, we have Anthony Hernandez going against Josh Fremd, and this will be my first bet of the night, and I'm trying to stay away from the parlays this year, but there's a parlay piece in this fight that I really like. It's going to be the under 2.5 rounds. I did parlay it with something else up top the card we'll talk about, but I got that at -325. I think it's still around there, -325, -350 for the under 2.5. The fight doesn't go to decision is around -400. I saw on FanDuel Sportsbook it's like -750. And for a very good reason. Anthony Hernandez has never been to a third round yet in the UFC. Anthony Hernandez is going to probably get into a war like most fights are. And we have Josh Fremd, who This guy's an absolute finisher, 77% finish rate, a ton of power, and he has about 1 round of cardio in this fight. You got to think, because he is coming in on short notice. When he typically has a full camp and all that, his cardio looks okay, but, coming in on short notice against Anthony Hernandez, like, how is this cardio going to hold up in a very high-paced fight that I kind of expect? So I think Fremd's kind of first-round knockout or bust, and maybe he can knock out Hernandez. Hernandez has been knocked out before, but I think Hernandez kind of takes over as the fight goes on and eventually finishes Fremd late first, second-round finish. I don't mind the Hernandez inside the distance minus 125. I wouldn't really mess around with the KO or sub because I could really see either one, but I like Hernandez. I like Hernandez inside the distance, but I do have the under 2.5 rounds in a parlay. I do like that fight doesn't go in the under 2.5 as a good parlay piece this weekend. Next, we have Alexia Olynyk going against Jared Vanderaa. Yeah, kind of a very weird and awkward fight here, as are most Olynyk fights to break down, but I do actually like the Olynyk side here. Jared Vanderaa, 20% takedown defense. On paper, you'll see that he has a black belt, but if you go and watch him, like, I was shocked, to be honest, when I heard he had a black belt, because this guy's been out-grappled many times before. He's actually been submitted twice. He's been, TKO'd on the mat twice in the UFC as well. Romanov got him out of there, and so did Sergey Spivak. But even, like, outside the UFC, he got submitted twice, and these were, like, in the last, 4 or 5 years. It wasn't, 10 years ago. So he can be submitted. He can be out-grappled. He can be taken down. 20% takedown defense. Olynyk, you say what you want about him. He's 44 years old. He has about 1 round of cardio, but his ground game is very, very dangerous. And, it probably only takes 1 takedown, whether Vanderaa is a black belt or not. So I like Olynyk to win. Actually, I like Olynyk to win in the first round. I like him to win by submission. If it does get out of the first round, he probably loses, but I think he has a very good chance to finish Vanderaa in the first round here. Olynyk, about a 50% accuracy just about on his takedowns, which, kind of surprised me. I didn't realize it was that good, but he has unique ways of getting it down to the mat. He can take your back standing. He can pull guard, and he will try to get you down. This guy's really strong as well, and on top of that, Vanderaa is coming in on short notice. So it's a sketchy fight. It really is a very sketchy fight. Olynyk, the oldest fighter on the roster, going against Vanderaa, who's probably one of the worst heavyweights on the roster. So should be a fun one, should be an awkward one, but I do have a bet on this fight. I have half a unit on Olynyk to win by submission, plus 165 on FanDuel. I mean, that line has not moved really at all. It's still there. So I like it. I think Vanderaa is going to have I think Olynyk's going to have a very good chance to submit Vanderaa. Didn't really mess around with the first round or second round because Olynyk has gotten second round submissions before. Most recent was against Maurice Green a couple years ago. So give me Olynyk by submission, half a unit, plus 165. Sketchy fight. Let's go. Vince Pichel going against Mark Matson. Yeah, I do have a very small bet here. The pick for me is going to be Matson. I think it's going to be a very greasy fight, a very close fight. I think Matson's going to win the first round. I think Pichel's going to win the third round. It's just going to come up to, who wins that second round. Matson, Olympic caliber wrestler. The problem with Matson is his cardio is not great. Pichel, on paper, a 25% takedown defense, which is probably one of the worst, if not the worst, in the entire division. But, what Pichel does very well is, for one, he has great cardio, and for two, when he does get taken down, he gets right back up. So, he's going to make Matson work. Matson's going to get takedowns. He's going to get a lot of them. But can Matson, continue that pace for 3 rounds? Maybe. I'm going to say Matson does win those first 2 and kind of cruises, kind of loses that third round, maybe survives. But I saw the Pichel third round prop at plus 1,600, and that really stuck out to me. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to finish Matson in the third round. I think Matson probably wins those first 2. I think Pichel is going to need a finish to win the fight. And, it's on the table. Austin Hubbard in the third round against Matson, he had a lot of success. He even landed a very hard knee that Matson kind of ate. But, Hubbard was really close to getting Matson out of there. So Pichel's going to have opportunities, plus 1,600. I kind of feel like that's honestly, a good chunk of his path to victory is going to be that third round finish, because I do see him dropping the first 2. I don't see him finishing Matson early on. So yeah, third round finish, quarter unit, small play, plus 1,600. I got to take a poke at that line. Moving on, we have Mike Malott going against Mickey Gall. I do have a bet on this fight. So there were 3 fights, and last week I tried to kind of take the week off, relax a little bit. But there were 3 fights that really stuck out to me, and I wanted to look into them. This is one of them. I saw the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 170. I thought that would be off, and it definitely looked off for sure. So I did put 1.7 units on the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 170. I still see under 2.5 at minus 170 as well. I still really like that, but this fight doesn't go to decision line has been smashed the last week and a half, and for a very good reason. You take a look at both these guys combined, they have one combined win that went over 1.5 rounds. Only one. They have only like 2 or 3 wins that are outside the first round. Mike Malott, when he does win, it's in the first round. Mickey Gall, when he does win, it's in the first round. So I think this fight probably does finish early. You have 2 guys that are very, very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. Mike Malott has a lot of power. Mickey Gall, he's shown a lot of power. And then both guys are very dangerous BJJ black belts. So in terms of picking a winner, it's a tough fight. Malott, we don't know a ton about him. Not a lot of footage on this guy. Very inactive as well, but what I do see is a guy that's very dangerous, has a lot of power, has a great submission game, and I think this is going to be a war. So I'll take Malott to win. I'll take him to win by like a second round, TKO or sub. But I think the fight doesn't go, or the unders are a pretty solid look. Like even the under 1.5 is not the worst look in the world. I believe it's plus money. Like again, out of a combined, how many wins do these guys have? Out of a combined 20 fights, only one time has either of these guys won a fight that went over 1.5 rounds. So, I think the under 1.5 is not the worst look in the world. But give me the fight doesn't go. That is a 1.7 unit bet for me. Raquel Pennington going against Aspen Ladd. Yeah, I like Pennington here. I'm not betting this fight, though. I was going to potentially look at maybe betting Pennington if Aspen Ladd came in, looked like crap at the weigh-ins, was crying again, but Aspen Ladd seemed to kind of fix that issue. She looked good on the scales, and, it's a close fight. I think on the feet, you got to favor Pennington, especially how bad Aspen Ladd looked in her last fight against Dumont. The striking just looked like the worst it's ever had, and maybe that was a one-off. She was up a weight class in that fight. She hadn't fought in a while, but just was not a good look. Maybe Ladd can get down Pennington if she can get on top. Ladd has great ground and pound, but I'm going to say Pennington wins a very close fight here. Minus 180, I don't really want anything to do with it. Maybe last week when it was minus 150, I probably would have pulled the trigger on that, but it's kind of I don't know. I don't feel comfortable at this fight, so I'm going to take Pennington to win. Not a ton of confidence, especially seeing that Ad did look very good on the scale. So it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of, figuring that Ladd would not look good and maybe I would take a shot on Pennington, but Ladd did look good on the scales, and I think it's a competitive fight. So give me Pennington, but not betting this one. Next we have Ian Gary going against Darian Weeks. We have a Gary who is minus 365 and Weeks is plus 290. I think Gary probably gets this one done, and I do not have a bet on this fight, but I guess the one bet that was sticking out was that over 1.5 rounds. It's sitting at minus 170. I've not pulled the trigger on it yet, and I'm not sure I do, but, just the durability of both these guys. Gary's never been finished. Weeks, never been finished, and Weeks also has a long amateur career as well, and even in his amateur career, the guy's never been finished. Outside of a cut stoppage. So, Weeks, very durable. Gary, very durable. Both guys, good cardio. I think this probably does go over, and that would be the one place I'd look in this fight if I was to bet. It would be the over 1.5. But it's not like something I'm running to the window to bet. So I'm going to take Gary to win. I'm going to take him to win actually by decision. But there's really, I don't see any point in betting Ian Gary minus 365. Like that's very wide. So it's going to be a pass fight for me, but I'll pick Gary to win by decision. Next we have Mackenzie Dern going against Tisha Torres, and I guess there was a way that I really wanted to play this fight last week, early this week, was they had the Dern finish only at minus 225. I went to actually bet it, and it was gone. It was like minus 280. So I ended up passing. I'm not going to have a bet on this fight. If you like Dern, you probably play her by sub, which is plus 175. If you like Torres, you probably play her by decision. It's plus 135. Really flip a coin. I have no clue what's going to happen. I think Torres should win. I think Torres should stuff the takedowns, but if Mackenzie gets it down to the mat, it's going to be over. Mackenzie Dern's grappling is next level, and Torres has not fought somebody that's going to be as dangerous on the mat as a Mackenzie Dern. So I think that Torres wins, but I'm not betting it. No confidence in this one. Flip a coin. It's 50-50 for me. Give me Torres for though. And like I said, if you want to bet this fight, I'd look at Dern sub. I'd look at Torres' decision. I really don't see either anything else happening in this fight, but I'll take Torres. Khamzat Chimaev going against Gilbert Burns. This is my biggest play of the night. And like I said earlier, I did research 3 fights, and this was one of them last week as the line really stuck out. It was the minus 190. Fight doesn't go to decision. I was kind of surprised when I saw that line. I thought it would be like minus 300, minus 400 even. Went to tape it real quick, and yeah, I liked what I saw, so I hammered it. I didn't hammer it enough. I have 2.5 units on this. It's my biggest bet of the night. 2.5 units, fight doesn't go, minus 190. And then I also, later in the week, added the fight not starting round 3, minus 145 for 1 unit. So overall, basically, I have 3.5 units on some violence in this fight, and I absolutely love that. I even think the under 1.5 is not the worst look in the world, considering Khamzat Chimaev, 10 professional fights, has never been over the 1.5 round mark. And I think personally that Chimaev's going to come in here and starch Burns in the first round. I don't think it gets extended, honestly. I know it's going to be a big step up competition for Chimaev. I know he's fought, guys like Reese McKee, guys like that, the Leech, guys like that, but I really think it's a bad matchup for Gilbert Burns here. So I just don't see many paths to victory for Burns. I think Chimaev can, take down Burns and get him out of there with a TKO on the mat, or just, simply knock him out on the feet as well. I don't like the durability of Burns. I don't like how he was reacting to the power of Usman, because I do think Chimaev hits much harder than Usman. So give me Chimaev first round KO. If you got the KO prop for Chimaev at plus 165, congrats. That was awesome. I did not get it. I should have played it, but I have 3.5 units on some violence here. I think the under 1.5 is not the worst look in the world. I think the fight won't start round 3, minus 145. I think it's still on Bovada. I think that's a good look. And then I think the under 2.5 is a good look. It was minus 190 last time I checked. I think that's really good. And then even like the fight doesn't go to decision, on some books, it's priced accurately. Like BetOnline has minus 300, but like on some books still, I think I see like a minus 250. Like I still think that's a little short. So give me some violence here. I think Chimaev starches him in the first round. Next, we have Petr Yan going against Aljamain Sterling. And this is going to close out my parlay. So I have 1.2 units on my parlay. I have the under 2.5 rounds, Josh Fremd, Anthony Hernandez. Got that at minus 325. And then I also had the over 2.5 rounds for Sterling Yan at minus 250. 1.2 units to win minus 120 are the odds on that. So I think the Hernandez fight goes under. I think this goes over. I think this fight does get extended. I think it does go later on to the fight. I think Sterling's going to come in here with a better game plan than he did last time, which really was not a big fan of the game plan he came in with last time. It kind of went balls to the wall early on. I think he shot like 17 takedowns, something crazy like that against Yan. Just not a smart way to attack this fight against Yan, who's somebody that he starts very slow, but he gets better as the fight goes on. I kind of see this fight playing out very competitively early on, but like Petr Yan does, I think he's going to kind of grow into the fight. I think he's going to get better and better. I think the volume goes up in each and every round. I think he starts mixing the takedowns. I think he takes over, and I think he probably wins the decision 3, 4, 5 rounds. And I think the first two are going to be very competitive. So yeah, the minus 470, that's kind of wide, right? Like I think Petr Yan absolutely should win this fight, but minus 470, like if you want to bet Petr Yan, why not just wait till like the second round, the third round? Like Sterling probably wins that first round. Petr Yan has tended to drop a lot of first rounds or have very competitive first rounds a lot of times in his career. Why not just bet Petr Yan second round? Maybe get a better price there. That's what I would do. I would not touch the minus 470 there. But I say this fight goes over. I think the overs are a good look. I like the over 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. Although they are juiced. 4.5 is getting a little bit iffy because I could see Yan, pulling out a finish late. But give me Yan here to win. Give me Yan probably by decision. But the bet I really do like is the over 2.5 and 3.5. And I do have the over 2.5 in a parlay. Main event time. We have Alexander Volkanovski going against the Korean Zombie. Minus 800. And, actually, after looking to the fight, I can't really argue that minus 800. It looks wide, but really, how does the Korean Zombie win this fight? I think it's going to be by knockout. I don't see the Korean Zombie winning much minutes, if any at all. Volkanovski's just going to have him covered pretty much everywhere. Zombie is very powerful, but I don't know. If you like Zombie, you bet him by knockout. Plus 900 for Zombie by knockout. I think I saw like a plus 1,200 earlier in the week on FanDuel. That's how I would play Zombie. I just don't see any other way he wins this fight. So I like Volkanovski to win. The question is, does he win it by decision or knockout? So, yeah, I think the only way I would bet this fight would be violence. I do have a bet on this fight. I have the fight ends in KO. Got it on FanDuel at plus 180, and I have half a unit on that. And I'm kind of tempted on adding some money onto the fight doesn't go to decision. I see plus 115 out there. I see a plus 120. I'm kind of tempted on that because I feel like it's gonna be a war. What is the game plan of the Korean Zombie going to be? I think it's going to be going out there and trying to starch Volkanovski in the first couple rounds. I think it's going to be going out there and trying to finish him early on. Korean Zombie's taken this fight on somewhat short notice. I don't think the game plan is going to be, go in there and, stand and bang with this guy for 25 minutes. I think he wants to finish Volkanovski early on. It's going to be a war. It's going to be an absolute war. There's going to be a lot of, hard shots thrown and eaten. 25 minutes of a war with both these guys who both have a lot of power. I could see this fight finishing. So if you are betting the decision, I mean, I think it's probably the most likely, but there's going to be a lot of sweaty moments. I mean, this fight has a very good chance of finishing, in my opinion. So give me the fight ends in KO, half a unit, plus 180. I'm kind of tempted on the fight doesn't go at plus money as well. I mean, I might be looking at adding that potentially, but yeah, the fight ends in KO, plus 180. I don't hate it at all. I don't see other guys submitting either guy. You know, Volkanovski never been submitted. Korean Zombie never been submitted, and both guys have power. So give me the fight ends in KO, plus 180. Half a unit on that. And again, I don't hate that fight doesn't go at plus money. It's going to be a war. They're going to stand and bang. I think someone falls at some point. All right, so yeah, not a ton of action. I did have a bet canceled. The Rosenstruck had him by KO, so I lost a bet here, but still have 7 bets. My biggest bet of the night is going to be Chimaev Burns. Fight doesn't go to decision. 2.5 units, minus 190. And then also I have a 1 unit on the fight not starting round 3. Burns Chimaev, minus 145. So 3.5 units just on that fight. That fight is probably going to make or break my night there. I have 1.7 units on a Mickey Gall, Mike Malott. Fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 170, got that last week. And then I have the fight ends in KO in the main event. Half a unit, plus 180. Olynyk by submission, half a unit, plus 165. Pichel wins in round 3. Quarter unit, plus 1,600. And then my parlay, 1.2 units, minus 120. Sterling Yan over 2.5. Fremd Hernandez under 2.5. And yeah, that's about it. Not a high volume card. I know it's a great card, but to be honest, a lot of value got sucked out like the last week and a half. These lines have been smashed. I mean, there's not much you can do with Volkanovski at minus 800. There's not much you can do with Yan minus 470. There's not much you can do with Chimaev at minus 550. So it was really hard to find spots on this card, honestly. So I would, honestly kind of tread lightly. But it's a fun card. It's a very fun card. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to 7 straight weeks of MMA. Gonna start looking at the next card right now. Hopefully get some early bets in right now. So that's about it, guys. Best of luck. UFC 273. Let's make some money. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. If you do want more content, I do a ton of content on my website. I started doing this full card article in Best Bets where I break down the article full, like it's I think like 12 pages. It's a ton of writing, ton of work, but it's all worth it. And then I give my best bet prediction at the end. People really seem to like that. I think that adds a ton of value there, and just a lot of stuff on the website. So check it out, dfsbythenumbers.com. Really would appreciate that. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Best of luck, UFC 273. Enjoy the fights. Let's make some money. We'll talk to you guys very soon.